Yeah. I think it's funny too, how people, like you said, always try to compare to those few people who blew up in a year or a few months or whatever it is. But in reality, age-old tale is true that the quicker you rise, the harder you fall. And that I think the worst thing that can happen, I'm curious your thought on this too, is for your first video to go viral, because then it sets a false precedent where you also have no content. Like somebody goes to your pages or looks you up and there's nothing else there. You're alone, your solo videos alone. And then you now have this uh internal competition to replicate something that you didn't even know how you created in the first place. And I had this awesome former WWE star on the show a few weeks ago, Mickey James, and she said, you don't want to be overexposed before you're ready. And I thought about that a bunch. I'm like, you know what? You're right. You don't want to be overexposed before you're ready. And I think that's an example of how, for a lot of people, they want to be exposed, but they don't realize that it's actually being overexposed.
I think you make a really good point. I think it's a great point. You know, and I think also what weighs in that too is a lot of people don't understand marketing reach and views. So, like, let's say I start a YouTube channel today, right? First video does 1 million views. Now, some people might get really Hollywood and think they're famous. You know what I mean? But the reality is, and what I know is from being in business for a long time, I try to only look at the mass market. Like I try to evaluate it based on the mainstream and the mass market. Even today on my channel, I know for 100% fact that only 10 videos hit the mainstream or like the mass market. The reality is if you do a video gets 1 million views in a week, if you're zooming out and looking at the everybody, the mass market, nobody saw that video for real, not for real. You know what I mean? But
Right.
who has that perspective? You kind of have to be in the game for a while and really understand marketing and viewership and how that works. Because, like you said, people can get an unhealthy standard trying to meet that mark. You know that definitely happens. And then you don't really know. It's let's say you did 5 videos in a row and they all got over 1 million. You might think like you're ready to have a TV show or like or like do some incredible things, not knowing that like that was 5 million views. That's just like that was dope. Don't get me wrong, but like it doesn't mean you're gonna be a millionaire. So people have unrealistic, delusional viewpoints. Like I
Yeah.
see all the time. Air Dog, my homie Eric over here. We were just talking about how we knew somebody who recently blew up in the YouTube space. Like he is going crazy. He has like 20 some videos or whatever, but they're doing over a couple mil. And this dude on Instagram now he talking crazy about other influencers. I did this in a shorter time, what took you years to do, and we doing
Oh
X, Y,
no.
Z, blah blah blah. And it's just like that dude's got too narrow of a scope. You know what I mean? Like he's not wrong for it, he just don't know, he doesn't understand. But that's a lot of people. I would say a lot of people don't have good perspective on reach and what that actually means. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, you can get those unhealthy standards easily.
I think such a great point too that, it's important to touch on is how much easier it is doing what you love. Like obvious, it's so apparent that you do what you love. I mean, you couldn't do it for as long as you've done it without loving to play basketball every day and playing in front of crowds and learning new moves and playing with players. So, I think that, how important do you think that is, or can you even, put words to that, because it's everything?
Yeah, I would say it's one of the most important aspects. You know what I mean? Probably the most important, I would say. And then also though, you gotta like production. You gotta learn to like production. So me hopping into this 13 years ago, homie showed me how to use Final Cut Pro. And that was my first level production. That's all I knew. I knew that I had like a flip cam, we could press record and it's autofocus and that works. This is for phones and selfies and smartphones. And I knew that if I got the footage from that, we throw that on Final Cut Pro and I could edit that and that could go on YouTube. That's all I knew about production to start with. So, but I was interested in it and I actually liked the idea of like editing a piece because it is art. You know what I mean? So I learned to like that art myself. And then when it came time to get a staff and a team, you can commission them because you like it yourself. So you're able to learn all about it and then convey it to them. Now, some people can just right off the gate hire somebody who knows production and just like does their thing. But how long are you going to get somebody to carry that weight? It's almost like you got to learn it yourself and you got to like it. So I think the production is a big part because I know a lot of people who are talented and could today they could have channels with 7-figure subscribers. But the problem is they can't they don't like production themselves and they're not good at hiring a team that can do it for them because they don't even know how to convey it. They don't know how to
Right.
communicate it. So that's a big aspect too.
Totally. Yeah, loving the production aspect of it is something I doubt very many people actually enjoy because it is a grind and it can be this, conflicting thing where you think that you're bigger than you are, but then you have to do the grind. So it's balancing those two things. Like you could go out and hit a game-winning shot in front of 20,000 people, but then have to go home and like edit a video for 4 hours. Like that is not a very like you know cool thing, but it's just the reality that people don't like to, you know, talk about.